I scratched my face somehow. Oh no. We can't start the show without the intro, so I almost forgot, but welcome everybody. Give me just a second here. Hello everyone and welcome to the late Between a Pot and a Hard Place. I'm Stephen Colton.
And I'm Chris Kirkpatrick. And I think it's got to be the fact that we're going live on a Friday evening.
Yeah, right? We took a week off. Well, we took the day off, whatever, on Sunday, and I thought, well, let's make up for it. We're going to keep things on track and do it.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea.
And I fell asleep earlier. It was okay. I went to work today, and I ended up coming back home because we have an ID badge working at the airport. You have to have that to even. Not to go in the building, but to like be where you're at.
Of course.
You're working. And I left it at home. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's not ridiculously far, but it's 12 miles. So I was like, gas is like $45,000 a gallon. So I don't want to drive all the way home and then back again and then back home again. I'm just like, I'm just going to stay home today. They're like, all right, fine, cool. And then I took a little nap at like 5. I laid on my couch and I was like, I'll wake up at 5:30, which here on the East Coast was 3 hours ago. There on the West Coast, it's right now.
Right.
But yeah, I took a nap, and then my roommate walks in, or he's been like running around doing all this stuff in the house. He's like, I'm surprised you didn't wake up. It was 3 hours later. A 30-minute nap turned into 3 hours. So I'm still like buzzing. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I guess I scratched my face at some point, tiny little. And I'm just like, oh, geez. And
I mean, I was going to ask who you got into a fight with.
Yeah. I mean, I guess myself.
I don't know. You clearly lost.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I'm wearing the Stephen Amell Vigilante Club wrestling T-shirt.
Right. What is the first rule of Vigilante Fight Club?
You promote their T-shirts of Vigilante Fight Club.
Right.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah.
Well, and you've been representing Vigilante Fight Club and Green Arrow for quite a while. I mean, it's amazing that they have not decided to sponsor us, which, by the way, if you're involved with Vigilante Fight Club or with Stephen Amell, we'd love a sponsorship. If you can't sponsor us, that's fine. You can definitely subscribe to us right now. If you guys aren't already active, I know. If you guys aren't already active subscribers of Between a Pod and a Hard Place, hey, take just a second and go ahead and hit the subscribe button there on the bottom of your page. We would certainly appreciate it. Also, hey, while you guys are watching us live or watching us here on YouTube, make sure that you're commenting. We love to throw your comments up here on the screen while we're doing our discussion.
And if anybody wants a shirt like this, I know they don't sponsor us, but you can order these. I believe they still make them at ProWrestlingTees.com.
Okay.
They have tons of wrestling shirts. If you're into old wrestling, because T-shirts, wrestling T-shirts, they were so popular back in the 90s and stuff. And then now a lot of wrestlers today make a lot of their money independently with T-shirt deals through ProWrestlingTees.com. So they have their own little stores on there. If you have a certain wrestler, you can go on there and look. And Stephen Amell, the few times he actually has wrestled, he had this shirt put out. So it was really awesome.
Is there any way that we could put that maybe in our chat section or something?
Yeah, I'll type it out. I don't have the link right off, but I guess if you just copy the link or copy, you can copy and paste it, I guess.
Yeah. And
I don't have a clickable link, but you can see it. Well, you can't see it on screen, but we'll go ahead and throw this one up on screen. So if you're in the chats on YouTube or here on Facebook, you can also, I say YouTube like we're not here, but yeah, here on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, here on Facebook, if you're watching on Facebook, you can just copy and paste that from the comment section, or just remember it, write it down. Or if you're, kind of like Fred Flintstone still, you could take a slab of stone and a little chisel and just chisel it into your little slab of stone and then type it on your computer. After that, I guess.
I will tell you that having grown up in the era before the internet, there are days where that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, Amber.
And then Corey's here. We're streaming on the soda aisle.
Right.
Yeah, I'm running.
Corey said he was grocery shopping, and so he's streaming while he's shopping. I love that dedication.
I thought about doing the show that way once. Like,
Yeah.
let me go to Target and do a live stream as we normally do, but as I'm shopping for toys. Like, let's just like, well, today, yeah, Spider-Man was really cool, but look at this toy I got. And then, I don't know.
It's hard enough to keep you focused, I think, when we're both sitting down and just talking, let alone with you being surrounded by distractions.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All the people like, what is he doing?
Right. I don't know.
It always feel weird recording in public anyway.
Yeah. Well, hey, I got to say, I'm excited about tonight's episode. We are, it's like we've been saving up all of these Flash episodes to kind of download all of them at once. And so I think it's cool that we get a chance to go ahead and talk about them.
And I feel bad, too, because Corey usually makes us our little cards, which I used, I think, on a promotional post on Facebook, but I didn't have time to add it into the show here because, I fell asleep and woke up so late. I was already 10 minutes late. It would have taken me another couple of minutes to get it on here, but you can go on our Facebook and check that out if you're either already on there or on YouTube right now, but he likes to put us in stuff.
I know.
We'll go ahead and show the Batman one again from the last show. Just to do a couple idea.
I know that one's great.
From last week.
Yeah, they've got me. He has me looking like Eddie Thawne, which I never thought that I had a very good likeness to Eddie Thawne, but I look hot. So
yeah, I wish I had that ready. I mean, geez, I forget who I am. I think I'm gosh, who was I on that one? Now I feel terrible. I'm like so scattered. That's why I don't take naps generally, because I'll end up sleeping for like 4 hours or 3 hours when I'm trying to sleep for 5 or 10 minutes, and it just. Ugh.
So I'll tell you, when I was a kid, I thought people that took naps were like crazy people, but I got older and had kids and realized why my parents were so desperate for naps. So like naps are like on Sunday afternoons. It's like, don't mess with dad during nap time. So.
Right. I mean, I don't know what it is. I was playing a video game earlier and I got tired. I started doing the thing where like I would see my dad do when he would be like trying to play or watch something. It just, the whole head nod thing. I was doing that and I'm like, you know what? Let me turn this off. Lay down for like 20, 30 minutes, a little quick nap. And then the next thing I know, it's 8:30, 3 hours late, 3 hours. I'm like, I slept half of a night almost. So I'm going to be up till 6 o'clock in the morning now, probably.
It's like your Rip Van Winkle. I mean, I'll tell you that if I know that I'm going to take a nap and I've got something planned for later that day, I'll always set an alarm because I just know how it's going to be for me.
Well, that's the funny thing too, is I did the same thing. I set an alarm and the alarm went off at some point, and I clicked the button. I'm like, all right, well, it's like 5:30. I think I'll sleep another minute or two and then grab a bite to eat and get ready for the show. And then next thing I know, I wake up, it's like 8:15, 8:20.
Right.
And so I'm just thankful that the alarms in the morning to wake up don't do that. Because if that were the case, then I would be sleeping and be 3 hours late to work every day. But there we go. You can show this is our episode 91 page. I'm actually Bart. I'm Impulse.
You're Impulse. Yeah.
I'm very impulsive, and sometimes I'm like anti-impulsive, where I'm so not impulsive that I fall asleep for 3 hours.
I've got to say, I'm so thankful that he didn't put my face on XS's body.
Or I'm thankful that he didn't make one of us Barry and one of us Iris.
Right.
We are the podcast.
We are the podcast. Yeah, that would be a little bit more awkward than it already is sometimes. So I think everybody is thankful that didn't happen. And now that we've said it, now we know he's going to make it happen. I think we might have just spoken that one into existence. Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, I didn't realize how awkward that would be saying it. And look at this.
I know. I think at least the good news is that we know that Corey will make you into Candice Patton. So that's my only relief.
Oh no. Now you said that, which makes him probably want to do it more. Ew, tempting.
Oh boy. Let's just cross our fingers and hope for the best.
At least she's prettier than I am, so there's that. Oh gosh.
So let's go ahead and jump in. Oh,
Yeah, set an alarm and try a really annoying sound so you can wake up. That's what I normally do for my I used to do that with the FM radio. I had this FM radio alarm clock. And what I would do was I would tune it in to like the least strong signal. So it would just be the static. And then I would turn the volume up really loud, all the way up. And then I would turn the radio off and set the alarm to go off with the radio. So in the morning, you'd wake up to and that worked a lot. Maybe I should start that again.
I think the worst part, the worst part for me is I've got a very specific alarm that I wake up to in the morning. But I've heard some people that have that alarm when they're getting a phone call, and I'll hear it out and about. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm already awake, right? It's like I only associate that sound with waking up.
Exactly, and now we've started something. Okay, so Corey's gonna be Jay. You're gonna be XS. You're gonna be my daughter, apparently.
Apparently we're both going to be women.
We got to work on that now. Oh my gosh, we started something terrible here.
We gave them ideas.
A rooster alarm clock would be a good idea. That'd be nice. But yeah, going into the Flash, we could talk about alarms and stuff all night. But
so, how far back do we want to go? Are we going to go and start with all the way with Armageddon, or do we want to just go ahead and jump in at where we impulsive excessive disorder?
I think, that was the first episode back, I believe, right? The episode 4.
It really was. And
so we just had episode 5, I think. So, yeah, we could kind of, I guess, go over both of those episodes because it's not that far back to go, like an extra episode. I really liked that episode with Impulse and Excess. I think it was fun that most of it was them in they're traveling through time trying to fix things. And just like Barry, they'll always find a way to screw it up even more.
Well, I think we knew going into this episode that whenever time travel is involved, something is going to happen. I think what we realized though is being the children of both Iris and Barry, of being children of Team Flash, they really do carry a pretty heavy burden, right? That idea that I've got to live up to this expectation of my family. Right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I guess everybody does that, even maybe not like, oh, my entire family thinks I should do this, so I need to live up. But like, there's always at least one person in your family or a friend or a mentor, somebody that you look up to the point or respect enough to where you like, I want to make them proud. And when I do this, or at least let them see like that they're proud that I'm trying my way, or like, there is that element of you're trying to do something for yourself, but you want to make everybody like proud or honored that you are doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm thankful that I don't have the ability to time travel. I think that I would probably make far more mistakes than either of them did.
Sorry, we had like a person in the comments here on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
And I don't even want to repeat the name of this profile, but they kept spamming different things. And I'm like, okay, I had to block that real quick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like, no, that was annoying. I mean, it wasn't showing on the show, but I don't want people going in the comment section, but like, delete that guy. Why is he in here? But yeah, I've been liking the Flash this season so far. I know we had, with Armageddon, we had the first 2 or 3 episodes that were like, yes. And then like the last one was like, okay. But now we're kind of back on track, I think, of what Flash was back in the earlier days. Still not as good as season 1 necessarily, but it's better than season like 5 or 6.
Right.
In a lot of ways. You see Barry Allen as a CSI more. You're seeing Iris less involved in Flash business, and she has her own thing over here.
Right. Well, and I think that's been something we've talked about here on the podcast a lot. Is that Iris? I think that when Iris is in her lane, when she's in her element, and that is the citizen newspaper, she really that's where she really shines. She doesn't need to be over in Star Labs. No. They've got enough people that can sit there in the chair and call out directions. And I think they've really done. I think they've made a very obvious, clear choice that Iris is going to be focused on her life, and Barry is going to be focused on his.
Yeah, and I think it's better that way because like Iris shouldn't know how to do the things that she knew how to do. I mean, her first week in the I was going to say the Flash Museum in Star Labs was like, oh, I'm part of the team, yay! Fingernail polish, yay! Dances, and then 2 days later, she's like, Barry, you must run at this much force, and then so the cortexal scientific word that no one else understands but me can maximize potential. It's like, how do you know all this in 2 days? Like, there's no way. But I like that, and I like her storyline. I mean, I did think she was being a little harsh, but like we'll get into that. That was this past week's episode.
So let's go ahead and stick to the impulsive excessive disorder first. So first of all, how do you like the kind of the vibe between excess and impulse?
It's a lot more fun than a few years ago when we just had excess, when she was just running around like going to Thawne in the prison. Like, what do I do, Mr. Thawne? Like, well, you must do this. Okay, so like it was fun, but I love the fact that there's this dynamic between brother and sister, and not only that, you have two different Flash characters from the comics and that people know, and it's fun. People are still I don't know if people are even upset anymore that Impulse isn't his grandson, but it's his son. Like, people were really up in the air about that. Like, but I love that. I love that they're changing it up a little bit. And now that you have the brother and sister team running around together, and Excess, even though they're not that much apart in age, she's a lot smarter. So it's almost like she has some experience of dealing with this from a few years ago, even though she's a different Nora than the other one was.
Right.
But she still somehow got some of that knowledge.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because I think that we might have watched that season where Nora is introduced and think, oh, this is exactly the same character. But this is all post-crisis, right? Anything that we had seen prior to it is sort of out the window.
And I love that they addressed that. I believe it was during Armageddon when the season first started. She herself even says, like, oh, the other Nora, like the other one. And they acknowledge the fact that it was a different time with a different version of her. I mean, it technically is the same person, but it's not. And it's one of those things that you would think I would get lost in a mind confusion loop, but it makes sense. It really does. And then now Bart exists. And I've been excited. We haven't seen a live action Bart Allen, I don't think, since Smallville, which was an entirely different take on the character. He was more of a kid from the future who didn't know where he came from. And he was just like, I'm assuming he was.
Bless you.
I'm assuming he was from the future because, typically Bart Allen is the grandson of Barry. So in Smallville, he didn't really have much of a past. He was just there. But I really like Bart Allen. And I saw the promotional images of Bart wearing the glasses and like the nerdy things, but I'm getting ahead of myself again. No, wait, that's the right episode. Sorry. It's confusing because we see Armageddon and like 8 years pass before the rest of the season starts.
It really did. It's almost like they're two separate seasons.
It really felt that way because they were on a 3-month break or 2-month break or whatever it was. But in the promotional images, he has the glasses, like the I don't want to say Steve Urkel, but like this Clark Kent type nerdy looking disguise.
Right. Well, and he really does have this sort of nerdy, preppy vibe about him.
He does.
I mean, he decides that he's going to dress up for the occasion of being back in the past. And I loved Nora's comment. She's like, it's 2020, not 1920.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I got some style, or I got whatever he said. And I'm just glad because I thought they were changing his personality, which was going to be interesting. I thought he was going to go from like this cool, like, oh, right, this is Crash, awesome, to did I do that? Like, I thought he was going to be that nerdy, clumsy, like Clark Kent type persona, but like it's just a disguise he wanted to go back in. And so it would have been interesting to see how they would have changed his personality. Because I thought, okay, they did something in the first couple episodes that like, they stepped on a butterfly, and now he has these glasses and suspenders or whatever.
Right. That would have been fun. I do find that their personalities are a little bit similar. Have you noticed that? They both seem to have sort of that insecurity thing going on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was fun. Watered down their own way.
Are you gonna die on me, Steven?
I think so. I mean, not really. Hopefully,
Okay.
I don't want to joke about that. But yeah, they do kind of seem. They both seem impulsive, and I know impulse is impulse, excess is excess. So they're both excessively impulsive, and then they have this like youthful, even though they're probably in their 20s or so in the story. I would think 19, 20, 21, something like that. They do have this new feeling about them, like, oh, this is a new world. We're doing all this for the first time, and I don't even know how you would put that, but there's this energy about them that is fun and youthful, and they do both kind of have the similar traits like that.
Yeah, I do like the idea that here they are, though they're going back into the past, and they're trying to fix their mistakes, and in the very process of fixing a mistake, they end up making it worse.
Yeah, and of course, like, you can't have perfect time travel. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna go back and fix this, and this. Everything's fine, because then where's the fun in TV? Where's the fun in the Flash? You can't have the Flash without screwing up the timeline,
right?
But I loved in the end of the episode where, well, who was it? It was Iris, like, eating, and like the fork disappeared or something, and like then the table was cleared, and then she basically had. I thought the timeline was like on the go erasing before our eyes, but then I guess she just kind of passed out or something, like she blanked out and then woke up to like a whole different, like she lost like the last 20-30 minutes,
right,
and doesn't remember what happened. And I think that's an effect of what they did, which I'm assuming it could be totally unrelated to something else, but that was interesting.
Yeah, so we had thought that her issues with time had been resolved.
Yeah,
but clearly it's not.
It's definitely not, because that right there, I thought that was a direct tie to what not Barry, but Bart and Nora had done. But I think it's a completely separate thing. I think it's her time issues, like you said. We thought that was resolved, but it's definitely not. And I think that's going to lead into the bigger part of the next, or not the next season, but the rest of this season. And see who the villain is. I think it's going to be tied in with, and that goes all the way back to the Mirror Master crap. I mean, oh my God, or Mirror Mistress or whatever, where they just become best friends and now they tweet each other, I guess.
Yeah, let's hope they don't go back to that one.
Yeah, I hope not.
Let's talk about stuff that we like. I think I really enjoyed their interaction with Jay Garrick, with John, our favorite, John Wesley Shipp, and as you know, I'll happily get my daily dose of John Wesley Shipp any way I possibly can.
And I love the fact that they, in their timeline, Jay had died. He had been killed or whatever. He wasn't alive in the future in like 2030, whatever, 2040, 95, whatever year it is in the future. And they went around on their little travels, and by the end of that episode, in their time, which I loved how they split between. It almost felt like an episode of Arrow in a sense, where they would show now and then the past and then the future, like all kind of broken up into segments. And by the end of that, Jay was alive again, and they explained to him, "Look, we screwed up, Uncle Jay. We did this. Now you're not dead no more. So sorry that you're not dead, but we're glad you're here." Because he was married to someone else. All this other stuff happened, and they switched it all around, and it was so crazy. But it's fun that Jay was involved in that episode, because who doesn't love John Wesley Shipp?
I mean, he's great. He's great. Between seeing him on The Flash and then seeing him, I'm hoping more on Stargirl.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to see more ties to season 1 and 2, and I think we're doing that in the next episode. Or the current episode that we haven't talked about yet. But overall, like, I'm trying to think of my favorite moments from this. I keep wanting to call it the first episode, but it's really like the fourth episode, the first episode back from that big long break.
Well, and technically, this is actually episode 6.
Oh, that's right. It was a 5-part. That's right.
Yeah.
I keep thinking it was a 4-part for some reason.
This is episode 6. So
that's right.
That's the big thing. I think what I really enjoyed was seeing both Bart and Nora teaming up to fight the Royal Flush Gang. I thought I thought that was really neat. I think their interactions with Grandpa Joe and also with interacting kind of in a weird way with Eddie Thawne. I thought that was kind of interesting too.
Yeah.
So
I was going to bring that up too. I was going to say that's probably my favorite part of the whole episode was revisiting the time that this was really before, well, really in the middle of the first episode of The Flash ever. Like the time that they're in when they're seeing Eddie Thawne and Barry's in the coma, all this is going on. That's during like the first episode of The Flash.
Yeah.
And I thought this is so cool. Like, so we had heard before Flash came back that, Eddie Thawne was going to be in the show again somehow. We're like, oh, how's this going to work? I thought it was going to be some post-crisis, like, yeah, I'm back, everybody. I'm not dead. Which still could be the case. They traveled to the past, saw him, so maybe they changed something. And the whole Thawne legacy and time travel, and you could have Eddie Thawne just pop back up and not even have to explain it and be like, I don't know, time travel. And then he could be back.
Well, and here's the deal, is we know that right now, Nora and Bart think that they have fixed everything that's happened as far as time travel.
Yeah.
My guess is that they haven't.
No.
That while things have turned out relatively good for them in the future, there are other consequences that they haven't seen yet that are going to pop up.
For sure.
And I think that two of them, one of them is going to be Eddie. I think the other one is going to be in regards to, who is it? Firestorm. They've got Robbie Amell listed as a guest character for Firestorm, and so
I've heard that Robbie Amell is coming back to the show at least for an episode or so. That would be amazing to have him. Now I don't know; it's more than likely going to be a flashback, sort of, or either a flashback or let's travel to the past kind of moment. What would be cool is if they could go to the past, get him, bring him to the present, and have like past Ronnie be here now in the present time. That'd be interesting.
So I'm going to talk more about my theory about that as we continue here with our discussion. But anyway, I think that there's a very real reason why they begin with this journey into the past by Bart and Nora is because they're going to set up this idea that the future isn't as put together well as we think it is. There are a lot of changes that are taking place. So anyway, that's my guess. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
It's interesting. I like that. And then we already know we had introduced to us Booster Gold, who actually came out. He came out on. It's like I'm talking about it like it's a new book or something. Like he came out this day.
Right.
Booster Gold has existed for years, but he first appeared on Legends, actually. If anybody saw Legends or has been keeping up with Legends, Booster Gold they didn't know who he was at first, but he shows up, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's the guy from Scrubs." And then he's involved with the Legends, and then at the end of the episode, you find out he turned on them, stole their ship, and all this. And it turns out he's Booster Gold, and then they reference him and show him on the Flash.
Yeah.
So this Booster Gold character. Now I was reading online, everybody wants the other guy from Scrubs to come in and play Blue Beetle. So like they could be like Scrubs reunion on Flash.
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, they really have.
Yeah. I think if we move on to the next episode, so it was almost like we turned around and went in a completely different direction, right?
Yeah.
So we had a non-Flash episode, and then episode 7 comes in. This is episode 7 Lockdown, and this one takes place almost entirely in the CCPD precinct, where Barry and all the rest of the cops end up like getting gassed. This
was a fun one. I forgot that there had been 3 over the. Wow, we haven't talked about Flash for a while.
There are 3. Yeah.
I was thinking there were 2, and then I'm like, I forgot about that. I didn't forget about it, but I mean, I'd forgotten it. I was getting them all mushed together in one big block in my mind. That was a good episode. It kind of felt like one of those like standoff movies or something, kind of like Speed, but in a police station instead of a bus, or like, that kind of vibe.
Right. I mean, it really was. I mean, you talk about high stakes. I mean, everybody that was there in the precinct, all the cops and everybody else, even Barry, they were wearing those meta dampening cuffs that had a bomb attached to them. I mean, and so we have this. Yeah, we have this.
It was
kind
like
of,
Speed.
It really was, except they were not on a bus traveling 60 miles an hour, but it's still kind of the same thing. We get the reintroduction of Barry as the chemist and a rather pissed off Goldface.
Yeah, he was pretty mad, and he's like, "I want to get this. I want this." And it was really, you find out he doesn't really care so much about what he's after. He's doing it for his girlfriend, his wife, or whatever, which is Amunet Black, which I was disappointed we didn't see her in this episode. I was hoping she'd at least be in a scene like with her phone, like, "Did you get it yet? Well, you don't get to come home, or you're sleeping on the couch if you don't bring it," or something like that would have been.
But you got to do the snooty British accent too, right?
Yes, you better bring me my stupid thing. I forgot what it was, but if I don't get it, then you're not getting dinner.
I will say they really are an odd couple.
Yes.
I don't even think I've seen a whole lot of screen time between the two of them, but I wouldn't automatically put them together, other than the fact that they both like to control metal.
Yeah,
but,
and they both like to steal things,
right?
But I mean, I like them each, and I like them as a team or as a couple, because it's two personalities that are similar but completely different at the same time. So it seems to work, but you wouldn't typically think of them together,
right? I think what really was highlighted in this episode, Barry, stripped of his powers, has to rely more on his CSI, right? Now, I will say one thing. Do you remember way back when Barry got shot with like tranquilizer darts, and he literally burned it off immediately? It didn't affect him.
That was actually in early season when he was fighting against, it was Arrow versus Flash, the first technical crossover.
And he's considerably stronger now than he was at that point. And so my question is, why did the gas affect him at that point?
Now, was he still wearing the power dampening cuffs?
Well, this is before the power dampening cuffs.
Yeah, okay.
The gas comes out of the elevator.
That's true.
And everybody ends up incapacitated.
I don't know. Like, you would think, unless it was just really strong gas and it caught him off guard, he didn't have time to process it, and maybe he ingested too much of it to fight off by that. I don't know. Yeah. I guess because when when Oliver shot him with the poison arrow or whatever it was, the tranquilizer arrow, he knew it was coming. He was like, ha ha, and like, because he was prepared to phase away from the poison or whatever it was. And this time, I guess since it caught him off guard, he didn't really have time to think. And
I don't know. I think it's just like how Barry can't get drunk, or
it's true.
It takes a ridiculously strong alcohol to get him drunk.
That's true.
Even for a brief amount of time. There is no, it's not like he can turn it on or off.
That's true, yeah.
There was a little bit there where I thought, well, maybe he was faking it. Like, if he was the only one who was up and moving around with the gas, they would know that there's something weird about this guy.
Yeah, and if it was just like a super, super, super strong gas, and it knocked him out, it should have killed everybody else if it were that strong.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is a good point. I didn't think about that at the time. I just kind of accepted it as they wanted me to. I'm just like, oh, okay, makes sense. I'm like, wait a minute.
Right. But that's not a rabbit hole that I need to go down, whether he was faking it or whether it was just a really strong gas. Bottom line is that he ends up with meta dampening cuffs on just like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So this episode, I feel like it was focusing on him as the CSI, but it was also really focusing on his relationship in this episode with the captain, right? With Kramer.
Right. Because, we know that her powers are similar to Cecile's. Like, she's not really the empath, but she's like kind of like Peter Petrelli from Heroes. She can use the powers of whoever's near her.
Right.
And I love that because I forgot about that until Barry's like, oh, yeah. Well, no, he doesn't tell her, but. Well, he kind of does. When I forget the order of how it happened, but they were mentioning that, okay, you can go in here. You have his powers because they figured that out because the dampening cuffs stopped working on her. So she's like, okay, you can go and absorb his powers and fight him that way. And I'm thinking like, okay, if these cuffs don't work on her anymore, could she then use the Flash's powers to just speed everybody out of there? Or once she started using Barry's powers, would it go back to where the cuffs worked again? Because that's the whole point of the cuffs not working was because his power was like, I guess, making them ineffective or whatever. I don't know.
No, I think the point was that the nature of her powers is that they're constantly in flux.
Oh, that is true too.
So her powers are constantly in flux, and so it's hard for the cuffs to get a lock on any one ability. And so that's the reason why it doesn't affect her like everybody else.
And also, too, I forgot the fact that the powers kind of work when she's near someone. So if she would have to be near Flash, which when they're in the room together, and he's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get out of here. Don't you worry. She would have been able to use his powers probably. But then when she sped away from him, the power would have been whatever it was that she was around. So It would have been so in flux that it would have been a weird. She'd have to be holding everyone's hand like, okay, everybody, let's go, to be able to use those powers.
Well, and we don't know exactly how far she can be away from a person to use their abilities. It's the reason why she needs to be trained, right? Because
30 feet.
Yeah. Right. I think as skilled as she is as a police officer and being ex-military, there's still a lot about her abilities and what she brings to the table power-wise that she doesn't know. So that's why this episode has been really important. And Barry I think he's been trying to, keep his two worlds separate from her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the big question had come down to whether is she somebody that we can trust, that we can bring into our circle.
Now, a year ago, I would have said no, but now we kind of see that character evolve and grow a little bit as a person. So I would think right now she's reliable because we find out that she knows Barry's Flash,
right?
But he doesn't know that. She's like, oh yeah, the Flash really saved in there today or whatever. He's like, yeah, that was awesome. I'm like, thank you for doing that, Flash. Like, what? Or I don't remember the exact dialogue used, but like she basically says, I know you're the Flash.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know? Like the obvious reason that you got out of the exploding handcuff in 2 seconds kind of like gives it away. But which at one point I'm like, okay, well, here we are. This is cool. She knows he's the Flash. That way the police, could be in the loop with the Flash stuff and they can work together. It's nice to have the cop and the hero knowing who each other are, just like Joe and Barry did. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, another one that knows his secret. How many people are going to be on Team Flash?
Right. It's almost like there's a shorter list of people who don't know who he is.
Yeah. And like you see that element of him going, and then like his whole mask coming off to show everybody who he is. That happens like 10 times a season, it seems like.
It really does. It really does. So what exactly is the purpose of having a secret identity if you keep whipping your mask off every second?
Every time they have a villain, it's like, whoosh, I'm a human and I have issues too. Let's be friends. Like,
the other thing that I've noticed, when Barry first started and he was working really, really hard to hide his identity, particularly from Iris, he would do that whole blur effect.
Yeah.
Where he would vibrate his face so that, and he would change his voice.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, he just stopped doing that. Maybe he believed that the costume alone would do it for him, but he's literally with a person he's worked with for a long time. Not changing your voice. I mean, I think that, yeah. But mind you, I realize this is the same universe where Superman, just simply puts on a pair of glasses and people are like, wow, what happened? The total transformation.
I think he does his hair a little bit too. Like
there is. He's got the little curly thing in the middle.
Yeah, a little. But honestly, though, I think what I always assumed with the Flash was like after like the first season, the whole like I was trying to vibrate my face as fast as he does. I'm like, that's not humanly possible. Just like shake your own heads really, really hard side to side when you're watching this and kind of like look. But I'm assuming that from the show's perspective, he's always doing that when he's speaking publicly as the Flash, but we're just supposed to go with it. Like we're supposed to assume he's doing it, even though we see him clearly speaking and seeing his face, because it was probably easier to understand his dialogue when his voice wasn't so distorted, and to see his face and his emotions when it's not distorted. So I just was led to believe that, not led to believe, I just always assumed that he's always doing it.
That's an interesting idea. I don't buy it.
I don't think it's logically what's happening, but
I think that Barry has gotten comfortable. That's what I think. He's gotten comfortable with being out in public, and he thinks that he takes it for granted that his costume covers most of his face.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do feel like if you're really worried about people learning about your secret identity, you should keep that up.
Definitely. I mean, I guess it would be kind of annoying to have to go in there and every time he's speaking, blur his face and put the voice effect on. So I think realistically, they're just like, we're tired of doing this effect. Let's just stop. But yeah, what is the point? Because especially around the people, I think he should do it around the people he's known for a long time that don't know he's a Flash, because they're going to recognize his voice. They're going to see like his facial features. They're going to like, I know that those eyes and the nose, like all that. It's a little bit more covered with the chin strap, but only like that much more. But still, when he was running around without that chin strap, you could clearly tell. I mean, anybody could have looked at him and be like, hey, Barry, like covering this part of your face right here and a little bit of your forehead isn't really fooling anybody. But then again, like you said, a pair of glasses. Wait, where'd he go?
I know. You compare that to Oliver Queen, who I think did a far better job of keeping his identity secret. And I mean, even when people like had him on camera, videotaped, it was like, it wasn't me. He was. I thought he did a far better job, and he never forgot to use his voice modulator.
No,
he used that every single time.
And the same with the Smallville Green Arrow too. Like his disguise wasn't as cool. He just had the little sleeveless leather hoodie and a pair of sunglasses, but he had a voice effect on too. He's like, hello, and when he sees somebody he knows, he turns it off, hits a button. He's like, oh, good, now we can speak normally. Like, it was cheesier, but yeah, the same thing. Like all these heroes have done that. Not voice modulators, but they've made an effort to hide themselves. A lot of them have.
Right.
Even with the Atom on Legends, with Ray Palmer, he had like enough masks. Well, we could talk about heroes all day long.
We really could. I've got to say one other thing I'm going to say about Goldface. It was like he was ripping off Wrath of Khan a little bit, right? He was doing all of these literary references. The English teacher in me squeed a little bit when he was, he was like Philistines, that they weren't catching the references that he was making to Moby Dick. I thought that was hilarious.
I caught like one or two, but I didn't understand all of them because I thought like, what's he talking about? But then one or two here and there, I'm like, oh, I know that from something, and didn't know exactly what it was, but I knew I'd heard it and kind of like knew something was there.
Right. But it's very classic villain talk, right? That you have the villain who's well read and likes making witty statements that he thinks he alone understands.
That's one thing I really loved about the Smallville Lex Luthor was he was like, now let me ask you my nemesis. What did Henry VIII say? And he would always quote these historical figures and all this stuff. So that was cool. But yeah, the ending of that episode, we find out that Barry's going to train her. He's going to be like, okay, I'm going to train you. I'm going to like help you use your powers and everything. So I wonder if we're actually going to see her come in and be like in Star Labs a lot and like, oh, well, I will go to CCPD now and take care of that, Barry. Or if it's just going to be like an off camera, like you don't see them training. Like, they're going to be a training montage with Eye of the Tiger, and she's like running up the steps. And,
right. Know. We're gonna see like a whole wax on, wax off.
Yeah, you're the best. Sort of... The best. Use your powers better than everyone. I don't know.
Oh, I part of me really hopes for that, and part of me really hopes it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean it would be interesting, but
it will be. I do think, however, that they've needed another person on the team. I think, another heavy hitter without the elongated man, and without vibe, and with a rather, I really feel like with Frost has been rather, they've really subdued her powers a lot too.
Yeah, it seems that way, and which is cool because in a way, because the character's developing, and she's becoming a regular person and less a superhero, which is interesting because they're like, oh yeah, we're going on a date tonight, we're gonna go to the bowling alley. Excuse me again. Ooh. And this weather change has like kind of affected me too. I think it's been cold and wet, and then it's like hot, then it's cold again. I'm just like, oh. But yeah, she's becoming more normal in terms of like the things she's doing. She's not just running around like trying to plot how to kill people. She's like going on dates and talking to people, and like they're just doing double dates, karaoke. Like this is a different. She's becoming more like Caitlin, essentially.
It's weird because we'd always thought that Caitlin was the one who had it all together, and that really awkward double date, which by the way, it's why I don't do double dates, because somebody ends up feeling left out. That's usually the way that it goes. But it all, as crazy as it was, it felt like Frost and Chilblain, that they were almost the normal couple.
Yeah.
And Caitlin was the one who was unhinged.
Yeah, it was weird. It's like they've almost shifted. It's probably going to come full circle where like Frost is just Caitlin, and then Caitlin becomes Frost, or something where like the powers would be the only thing changing or not changing.
I know what they've really done though. I think is Caitlin is jealous.
Yes,
that's the truth. She's really jealous, and while she's got Dr. Ficus, which I love that the joke. How cool would it be if you could control plants? That was a hilarious line. Because that's how it always works, right? You got like Speedy McSpeederson. I wonder if he's going to be able to run fast. That's how a lot of their names are.
Yeah, I mean that's funny, especially like oh gosh, who was it? Like Mr. Freeze in a way. It's like Victor Fries, but like Freeze and Fries. Dr. Otto Octavius. That's like the biggest one in Spider-Man, because you see in No Way Home, they're like, that's stupid.
It's less common. It's less common in Marvel, but it happens a lot in DC.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think she really cares for him all that much. I think she wants a relationship, but every person she ends up being with isn't Ronnie.
Exactly. I was going to say the exact same thing right there. That's awesome. And we talked about Robbie Amell coming back possibly. Yeah. So I really think this is all kind of foreshadowing his big reveal or comeback or reemergence, whatever you want to call it, resurrection.
Right.
Whatever version of him we're going to see, if he's in the current timeline, I believe they're building up to have her finally be with Ronnie at the end.
So what I'm really worried about though is that in this case we already saw two people that got burned alive, and they had wanted us to believe that it was the hotness, right? That weird biker guy that likes rock music, sort of a joke character, but they wanted us to think that it was him who was committing these murders.
Then I want to say too that episode, which was I guess this past week's episode,
Right.
that episode was really well done, I thought, and it really kind of felt like one of those like an actual CSI episode or something like that.
Right.
The way it was, the pace of it, the feel of it, I just really like that.
I guess my only question in that regard is Barry's belief in his innocence.
Yeah.
I think about how many people had Barry been a part of locking up and putting in prison, who were essentially they had done essentially the same thing with the same kind of evidence, and they didn't bat an eyelash. But for some reason, even without evidence, because their situations were similar to what Barry's had been like as a kid, he wouldn't believe from anybody that this guy was guilty.
Yeah, I think it was like he said, the one thing that was different in that case was the look in his eye.
Right.
Which was the same as the look his dad had. And he knew his dad was innocent because he saw Reverse Flash kill his mom. So he knew. And so he thought there was a possibility. And then it just ate away at him slowly during the course of the episode. And then by the end of it, he's like, no, that dude's innocent. I want to prove it. And at first I thought that he's not innocent. It's going to be one of those things. And they try to trick us where, we see him come out and confront the girl at the bar or whatever. And then we find out that she gets burned. We think, oh, it's totally him this time. We know for sure. I thought it was going to be that he didn't kill the first one, but he killed the second one because he was mad at her for turning him in and all this. But no, he was innocent. So it's like, oh, okay. I liked how they played with us. They made us think, okay, he's guilty. Now he could be innocent. Now he's guilty again. But Barry, there was always something about him. Like right after he saw, don't take my son or whatever, he saw himself, and we see little bits and flashbacks of his dad getting arrested and him like, no, don't do that. I like that, and I don't know where they're going with that. I think that's something that they're leading to. Like, I think there's going to be a big payoff or whatever with this. Like, he's thinking about his dad more. Will he come back to life? Will we? I don't know. Like, I think it's going to lead to something, though.
I think that we always kind of think there is when it comes to grief, that there is like a time limit to it. Like you would think that, okay, you lost your father when you were a little kid, that by this point in your life, you'd be over it. But,
right.
But as you know, you've lost your father, and, people that we've lost in my family, it's not like, you deal with grief and then it's over and you never deal with it. It comes back.
Right. It does.
It hits you when you least expect it. And that's certainly what we see with Barry, that he gets kind of put in that situation and it triggers him. And I think you could say that it kind of made him, make, I think, a snap judgment. He could have very well been wrong. He had made that judgment and that determination of this guy's innocence, not based upon any facts or any data,
right,
but simply off of his gut.
And it was really more about his own feelings. He let his own feelings and his own grief determine that this guy was innocent without even knowing.
Right.
Because if you remember, like right up until the point where he flings in there and throws the medicuffs on him, he's like, I got another one, loser. Oh, wait, he has a kid? And then boom. And that was, at that point on, he was innocent.
Right.
So I like that, though. I like that they're using his emotions, and I think they're going to dip into that more. And then we're talking about seeing, Robbie Amell again as Ronnie Raymond. I couldn't remember his name for a second. So all these classic things are coming back. It feels like they're coming back around.
So here's the problem that I see coming up is that Firestorm as Ronnie Raymond has been dead or gone, missing all this time. We've known him during his time on Legends. Actually, I don't think his version ever made it to Legends.
I don't think so. No, they talked about him, but I mean, I don't think he was actually on Legends because by that time they had the other guy.
I think it was Ray, or gosh, I can't forget the name. I forget the name of the other guy that was there.
I remember it, but I don't. Like Jefferson Jackson, wasn't it, or Jax, or
Jefferson?
Jax. Yeah, Jefferson.
Yeah.
Jefferson, we must go. Okay, Gray, let's do it.
I know, and I
yeah.
really missed their dynamic on Legends. I thought they were a great pair. But I think that in our heads, we think that the version of Ronnie that's going to end up showing up is going to be the one that is, the husband to Caitlin.
Mm-hmm.
The fact, though, that there are currently 2 bodies that are, burnt toast, shows us that whatever he's coming back as, he's not the same guy.
I'm not even convinced yet. It's a good theory, but I'm not totally convinced yet that this is Ronnie Raymond doing this. It's a possibility, but I don't know for sure yet. I don't know. I thought the same thing. I thought, okay, when they started talking about fusion, I was like, wait a minute. But then I remembered that at the point where he goes into that singularity to try to stop whatever it is, which ends up working, I guess. At that point, he didn't have the Firestorm powers anymore, did he? I mean, because him and no, wait, they did still have the power, because that's why now I forget the guy's name. The old guy.
So Martin Stein.
Martin Stein, yeah. Wow, why did I not know? He was dying essentially because he was like, he had this power. It was like, oh my god, this is too much for me, and so that's why they had to get another person to kind of hold it with him.
So if you remember where he kind of disappears, it was the end of, was it like the end of season 2?
I want to say season 2.
Yeah. So we had Reversed Flash, who had created that singularity, trying to get himself home, and that singularity kept getting wider and wider and bigger and bigger, and the only way to close it was for Firestorm to kind of release like a mega blast, like a huge solar flare, or by basically separating from the Firestorm matrix. And
that's right.
That explosion sealed it, but it separated him and Stein. And I think Barry was only able to catch one of them.
That's true, because Ronnie never came out of it.
Right.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, we never got a body.
So I always held on to the fact that he could still be alive, or at least transformed into something else. He needs to be something else. He has to become something else. He is,
He is Firestorm.
But yeah, it's possible.
Yeah. That said, these shows, a lot of the writer, it really is a pattern in a lot of CW shows, just like what we saw with Superman and Lois, where we think they're going this one way. Oh, it looks like Doomsday, and then they give us Bizarro Superman,
which is good, but
no, it's great. It really is fantastic, but you get so used to that as a pattern, you don't know whether they're giving us, Firestorm, or whether they want us to think that it's Firestorm, and really it's going to be something else.
Yeah, I think at this point I'm thinking it's based on what you said, but based on their pattern of haha, tricks you kind of thing, I really think it's going to be something else. But then again, maybe they want us to think we're being tricked so that they can then lead us back to that point again. But I think you're right, though. If it is Ronnie, it's going to be a completely different version. It's not going to be like, hello, Caitlin, I've missed you. It's going to be some weird, like maybe half-dead demon zombie version of him or something. I don't know.
See, I've always felt like Caitlin is sort of a neglected character, right? She's the less interesting part of the dichotomy of Killer Frost, right? Killer Frost has the over-the-top personality. She's got the powers. Caitlin's smart, but she kind of gets overshadowed and forgotten.
She really does.
And they really, unless somebody like breaks a rib or something, or needs a blood transfusion, sometimes she doesn't have a whole lot to do.
Yeah, she's like, well, I made the spare keys for Star Labs. You need me to do a blood test or anything?
Right. Right. And so she kind of gets the shaft between losing her husband and then kind of starting a relationship with Julian that doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
I feel like if there's an arc for her character where maybe she finally gets a little bit of happiness in her life, I feel like you know, getting her husband back in one shape or another, um, I think that would be interesting.
It really would be. So this is a really good question here. What's your favorite season of The Flash? Okay, I have to say one. I'm always going to say one. And why, the whole Eobard Thawne story, it was so solid and so strong in that first season that you can't really match it.
Season 1 is really hard to top, and I agree. I mean, literally, when I go and compare other superhero shows, I think, is this better than season 1 of Flash? That said, season 2,
excuse me again.
Season 2 is pretty darn close to that.
It's close, definitely.
I think that the introduction of Zoom and Hunter Zolomon and Earth 2, I felt like those storylines were really engaging.
They really were.
So
it introduced
it's
us
a very
to the
close session. Yeah.
I didn't think about that because I didn't forget about Earth 2 and everything, but I thought, the Thawne storyline was so strong. They came in hard and they went for it and it worked. But the same with season 2. I mean, I still have to go with 1, but oh gosh. And
so
if you had to pick a villain or superhero, what would it be? And I still think the Flash is my overall favorite superhero character. Although I've been binge watching the Marvel movies pretty much almost one movie a day, sometimes 2. I'm all the way up to, I'm close to Civil War at this point. I'm getting close to that.
You're doing it.
So out of all the heroes I've been watching, I still think, maybe not this TV show necessarily, but the character of the Flash is, I don't know, one of my favorite ones, I think.
I've got to give it to Green Arrow. I really liked what Stephen Amell brought to the character. The idea that here's a guy who essentially has no powers, but his natural skills that he's developed by surviving over the years have made him into a living weapon.
And the same with Batman, but Batman has the money to make him Batman. If Bruce Wayne didn't have these billions of dollars, he wouldn't be as successful as Batman. But with Green Arrow, he was also a billionaire, but he didn't need to be because all he needed was the hood and the arrow.
I mean, listen, I think
that's training, but
I think bottom line, both Green Arrow and Batman are very similar characters.
They are,
right? They really are very similar characters. I think because we've seen a lot more of Batman, I feel like I like the novelty of Green Arrow a little bit more.
Yeah,
and I do feel like a lot of his. We had the opportunity over multiple seasons to see how every single experience that he dealt with, whether it was a success, whether it was a failure, every time that he survived, he got better.
Yeah,
and that's a development that we really don't see from Batman. And so that's what I really liked that Green Arrow did for that character. That's why I like him so much.
That's a good point. I do like that. Yeah, looking at where the Flash is going. I know they were saying, I was reading something Eric Wallace said, who, by the way, there's a reminder, he's coming on this show May 1st.
May 1st.
At 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. He's going to be on with us, and we're going to talk as much as we can about the Flash. We're going to try to squeeze secrets out of him, see if he'll lie to us like Jordan Elsass did. But yeah, that's coming up. But he was saying that, they treated the end of season 8 as if it were the series finale, in case they don't get picked up. But luckily, we just found out not too long ago that the Flash season 9 has officially been ordered. So we are getting the Flash season 9, at least. That might be the last. But we'll find out on May 1st. We will pressure him.
Yeah, I think the other challenge, I think, is that Grant Gustin only has a certain amount of episodes he's able to do in season 9, according to his contract, unless he re-ups his contract for a longer amount of time.
And see, I've always thought that it would not hurt my feelings if Grant Gustin was like, okay, I have to move on. I want to go do something else. I want to go play. I want to be in the next Jackass film instead of The Flash. Like whatever.
I want to be in Glee 2 or something.
Yeah. I mean, if he wants to move on and do other things, I won't hold it against him. I mean, like, I don't want to see him go, but just like Stephen Amell, and he went on to do Heels, and that's such a phenomenal show, and they're in the process of filming season 2 right now of Heels. So, that's great.
Here's what I really want is I'm hoping that Flash does a really smart decision and they use this opportunity to prepare us for the eventual ending. Right? I don't want them to just kind of like plan to go on forever. Right? I want them to really conclude the story, maybe give us a good spinoff that can go from it, whether we look at Impulse and Excess or something like that.
I think that's what they were trying to do. I think I want to see Flash go to at least 10. I don't know why, but I've always held Smallville as the standard as far as like a successful comic book related show. Supernatural kind of blew that mold wide open when they went for like 75 seasons. But I think that show came out when Little House on the Prairie did, and then it was still going up until a couple of years ago.
I think Michael Landon was on that one. Yeah.
Yes, and Corey, build Gideon. I want to see him build Gideon too. Michael Landon I think Michael Landon played like a pedestrian number 3 on the first episode of that show.
Right.
But no.
We're running out of time, though, for him to build Gideon.
Yeah, we are. I mean, they're getting close to the point. We've seen more of his kids that were created after Gideon, I would imagine, than we've seen of Gideon. And
that's the other thing that we need to talk about is the creation of the kids.
Yeah, I mean, did that happen yet?
It doesn't seem like it has.
Well, I guess it hasn't because Iris isn't known to be pregnant yet.
She's not with child. And have you noticed that Iris and Barry have been a little bit distant?
Yeah, they haven't been doing things. I bet you. Oh, they're not his kids. It's somebody else. Next, we're gonna have them go on Maury like, Barry, you are the no.
You're not the father.
Yeah, I mean that is a good point. Maybe they're gonna like have some big blowout, and then they're gonna be like, I'm sorry, and then do what they do.
Though you would think that with super speed, Barry could have a quickie.
Oh yeah, but
you know what I mean?
He might. Do you think he's already done that, and she just doesn't know? She's like, what happened? Like, I don't know. It's possible.
That would be terrible.
It would be terrible if he did that without telling her. But I mean, I'm sure he's like, hey, and they worked it out beforehand. Like, surprise me one day. Don't tell me you're going to do it.
He is the fastest man in the world. So
yeah. I mean, that was okay. That's a little wrong. I hope he doesn't.
I know.
But no, I mean, like he really could get it out there, and so it's not like they don't have the time. So they're always, and they tried that one time, and then that one episode, and who was it that kept interrupting them? Oh, it's when Ray Palmer came during Armageddon, I believe. And they were about to, and then he's like, oh, hey, everybody, let's play Yahtzee or whatever he was doing.
That's terrible. Ray Palmer, gets between them.
Yeah.
I know. That's terrible. That said, I think that the bottom line is they are both very kind of wrapped up in their lives. Iris is really involved in what's going on at the Citizen, and I guess Barry now decides he's going to be a CSI again,
which is good.
Yeah, so I understand that having a relationship, especially with Iris not being, at Star Labs as much anymore, their time together is short. But if they're going to end up with those kids, they've got to get busy.
Well, I mean, I don't know why they haven't used Flash time, because if we found out a couple of years ago, he could like touch somebody and put them in Flash time long enough to, get the job done.
Right.
And then go back to their lives as if no time had passed.
So, I mean, the bottom line, it's not a matter of having time, it's making time.
Right. And they are too distracted to do that. And makes you wonder if I start seeing like Bart's hand disappear and it's like, oh no, what are we gonna do? Oh, this is heavy.
Oh, Bart and Nora are playing the guitar at the Enchantment of the Sea dance.
Yes.
Right.
And if I don't start hearing Earth Angel playing real quick, I'm gonna get worried.
I know.
I mean, because they're gonna do something and like erase themselves or each other or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we know that it has to happen at some point. Just when.
Ray goes on to make Palmer chocolates.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see what this is building up to, honestly. And I kept forgetting that Flash was on Wednesdays now, because I remember this past Wednesday, I'm like, I'm excited to watch Flash later because it's on CW app, and then you reminded me Flash is on Wednesdays. I'm like, and I had to wait a whole other day to watch it. I mean, I can watch it live as it happens, but I don't have any kind of cable or anything, so I use an antenna on the. It's kind of funny that I have this like 4K smart TV, and I still have to use an antenna to watch shows. But CW doesn't have like a live stream option, so
I mean,
I like watching them later anyway. But
do you still like get up and go to the TV to turn the channel?
No, I don't have to do all that. But I mean, because they'll normally set one TV to like CW or something. Like,
okay,
you do have to with these newer TVs, you do have to like put there's a setting on here for antenna. It's like a channel. This is the first smart TV I've had. So like everything's an app or a channel on the TV or some sort of thing. But you still have to like position the antenna. It's like being in the 80s or 90s again, where right here, here's the antenna and it's working fine. And 10 seconds later, you have to move it over here to work.
Oh, let me guess. Do you like wrap yourself in aluminum foil?
I used to try. I'm like, okay, don't move for 45 minutes. It used to be a situation like that where you would step 2 feet to the left, and the TV would go out. Like, why? No.
Right. One poor kid was going to have to go over there and hold the antenna the entire time and miss the show.
Yeah.
While everybody else watched. So hopefully it doesn't come to that for you.
No, that's why I usually just wait, because now like everything streams for free the next day anyway, especially the CW shows. Like you could watch them tomorrow on, or whatever time, whatever day. And you can watch it on your time and not have to be like, oh my gosh, it's 8 p.m. I have to watch this.
So I've got to say, season 8 for me has been, I think, a real redemption for Flash. Seasons 6 and 7 really, really drug for me.
Yeah.
Really, really drug for me. And so I needed that between what happened in Armageddon that I think really built the excitement for returning to this show, and then I think the writing has been consistently good and interesting. I really do have this rekindled interest and enjoyment in watching The Flash again.
I do too. I mean, I've always, I guess I could say like I've always kind of had it, but mostly because of force of habit. I've always watched it like, okay, which I can't say the same for other shows. Like I kind of lost. Like Naomi kind of lost me pretty early on. Batwoman kind of lost me later on. But I need to get back into Batman Batwoman, because apparently it's a lot better than I had been thinking. And so
season 3 is good.
2 really lost me. I loved 1 and I love the beginning of 2, but somewhere by the end of season 2, I'm just like, I really don't care anymore.
It was the whole introduction of Ryan Wilder, and then the reintroduction of Kate Kane with a different face, which I totally knew was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then I thought that whole part of it was clunky. They were trying to fight the fact that that Kate Kane's actress had left the show and wasn't going to come back, and so they had to do a lot of gymnastics to try to fix the story. And so season 3, it was almost like a completely different show.
Okay.
But because they're doing Gotham Knights coming up here, I think I'm really excited to see how that's going to play out. So
it's going to be awesome. I don't know if it's going to be tied to this universe, this timeline, Earth Prime itself, or if they're going to do a completely different thing. Oh, this is a reboot of the Bat universe. It's completely unrelated to this. Being CW, I guess it's on CW. I'm hoping it's related, so you can see potential crossover stuff.
Since they've done all the work to build up this universe, it would make sense to put it on to put it on Earth Prime. But you never know. You really don't.
And I definitely hope we get one more big crossover before, maybe not as big as Crisis, but like a crossover before Flash ends. Some point during season 8 would be great, but I know that's not the case because I think they finished the season maybe already as far as filming. Maybe not. I don't know, but we could ask Eric Wallace coming up May 1st what we can expect as far as crossovers go, because we still haven't really got a proper new post-Crisis crossover since, well, I guess Crisis was the last real one. Armageddon kind of technically counts as a crossover, but I'm hoping season 9 brings us a bigger kind of crossover. And Legends,
I do too.
Legends being off the crossovers for the last couple of years. I mean, even on Crisis, but we had Ray and we had a couple of Legends elements there, but they always make that joke of like, my team doesn't want to do crossovers, and they don't. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully they can do something fun.
Yeah.
Build Gideon.
I feel like if we go much further, we're going to end up spoiling what's going to be coming up later on for our episode on Sunday.
Yeah. Which is, oh gosh, I'm like, what are we covering? Because I got so sidetracked with being late today.
But no, I absolutely agree. The idea that we know that Jay Garrick is involved with the JSA on Stargirl's Earth, and his connection with with Flash, to me, that would make a whole lot of sense to connect those two worlds together. I also feel like, considering how young the cast is with Stargirl and how young the cast is with Superman and Lois, I kind of feel like I'd like to see those two get together as well. And since they know that other worlds exist now, right, and that travel between them is possible, even if they're not sure how to do it right now, that is something that, gosh, I think it's about time for it to happen.
It is. I think Stargirl. I like the fact that they waited, because like season 1, standalone, good. Same with Superman and Lois, standalone, good. Now we're getting into season 2 of Superman and Lois, at least, and we'll talk more about that later on next. No, I was going to say next week, but on Sunday, I believe.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like that these things are kind of standing alone, but eventually, you really just as a fan want to see this happen in this person, and interactions and mixtures, and like we want to see it all kind of come together. That's what's so fun about it, and it builds excitement towards a goal. Like, you're like, as a fan, you really see that you want to look forward to, like, not just the end of the season to see how it wraps up, but I want to see, Superman running around with Chester or whatever. I don't think anybody wants to see that, but
not really.
Like, oh, it's Superman! Holy crap! He's all excited. But yeah, it'd be fun to see another crossover.
Yeah, and I think that as we are, a lot of issues as far as COVID are concerned are, fading out. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to, lighten up a lot of the restrictions that were happening as far as filming and everything else.
And I think we've noticed that with season 8 already. Season 7 had a lot of scenes with just like one, like, kind of over the shoulder shots, kind of, where it's like, okay, you see one guy on the screen and then you cut to the other person and they have this whole scene together, this full conversation, but they were filmed separately.
Yeah.
Or if they're in the same room, they're across the room from each other, like at a distance. There were no crowd scenes, but you're seeing more and more of that kind of come back together. Like a couple weeks ago there with the CCP, the lockdown episode, where there's all these people in one room together, like, ooh, people in a room. This is neat. Like, it's nice to see that things are getting a little bit back to normal on that. Not just for TV, but for in general. That things are kind of normalizing a bit more. So that's nice.
Yeah. Well, I think we probably covered about everything that we're going to cover here tonight. I think this is probably a good time as any to just remind people that are watching, hey, if you're watching and you like this episode, go and share it with somebody. Go and share it on your social media, your Instagram, your Facebook, your Twitter, and just go ahead and make sure you share. If you're not already subscribing to Between a Pod and a Hard Place, go and hit that subscribe button and that way you don't miss any other of our content. And then make sure you come right back here on Sunday, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 Eastern, and join us for another live show as we talk about Superman and Lois.
I'm excited for this one too because this season's getting pretty interesting.
It is so good. It is so good. And I know sometimes people go, oh, it's a CW show and everything else. But I really feel like Superman and Lois is one of those shows they've consistently gotten right.
They really have. I mean, it dipped like maybe a second during like the first end of the first season, maybe. Or not the end, but near the middle to the end. But then it didn't take long. It was like one or two, and every show is going to have one or two dull episodes, but it didn't stay down. I mean, it kind of dropped like, oh, this is a boring episode, but shot right back up.
Yeah.
It didn't stay that way, which is awesome. And this past episode, oh my gosh, I just watched it, I want to say last night, I think it was yesterday I watched it. And which was Thursday, which it came on Tuesday. I watched it later because I had forgotten it came on, and then I was thinking Flash came on Tuesday, and then I realized like Thursday I watched that show, and I really liked it. It's one of my favorite episodes of the season so far.
Yeah,
but we'll go into it this Sunday, and so don't miss that. If you do, you'll be cursed.
Sunday.
I'm going to learn how to curse people. So I don't know how, but I'm going to learn. No.
I think I learned that back in elementary school.
Sometimes you can use a voodoo doll, I think. Like,
wrong kind of cursing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, either way, both. You can be cursed both ways.
Right. No, we're a family-friendly show for the most part.
We won't like curse at you, but we might put a curse on you. Who knows?
Yeah. So just don't miss it. Don't miss the show.
Yeah, don't miss the show. You don't want to find out what the curse could be. So
no.
I'm gonna curse you with so much money that you don't know what to do, and so you're so inconvenienced to have to count all your money. Like that's
why don't you just go ahead and curse me then while you're at it? Not the money. Anything but the money.
No, if you go out tomorrow and find a big sack of money, I'm gonna laugh. That would be amazing.
I'll let you know. Actually, if a big giant sack of money showed up in my front yard, no one would ever see me again. I think that's probably the truth. If I just disappear, you'd be like, you must have won the lotto.
You grab it and then run away, then you realize it's all pennies.
Right.
It's just like $42.
Right. Unrolled pennies.
Yeah. It's like, this is a heavy sack of money. Oh my gosh.
You're like, you can keep it.
Yeah,
isn't it terrible? Like, I never carry cash. Right? I generally always use my card, and most places they take card for everything. But I had some cash, and I used it. And that center console in my car, it's become like my piggy bank. Yeah. I swear I probably got at least $5 in assorted change in the drink holder. So it's just hilarious.
Yeah. That loose change thing, it adds up seriously. I mean, I know my dad had this jar he would put all his quarters in, or that was like silver colored change, and he would have a separate jar for pennies. And I think like after he passed away, I think I used that jar of quarters to do laundry for like 3 or 4 months.
Oh yeah.
Because I have a washer and dryer, but a lot of the times I'm just like, I don't feel like doing it. I still have to do the laundry if I go out to do it, but I mean, like it's easier and quicker to just go out and throw quarters in the machine and be done.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, they were like, I think it was like $40 or $50 just in quarters alone that he just tossed in every day. Now with me, my quarters are like, there's a table here, probably a table back there, change spread out everywhere. So I need to get more organized with it and stop. I just empty my pockets wherever I'm at and just kind of like.
So when I was a kid, my grandmother, that was her thing, is she would take her old coffee cans and any spare change, she'd put it in the can. And then whenever we came to visit, that was our gift. She would give us the big coffee can full of coins, and we'd pour it out on the floor, and we would look at the dates on them, and we would stack them and count it. It's one of those things that I always associate with my grandmother, and it's one of those things too that my parents have continued with my kids. I think they even still do it now. It's kind of cool. One last story, and then we can kind of wrap things up. My wife and I did the same thing. That we kind of called it our date jar, where all of our spare change went into, and we were dropping a friend off at the airport, or we were at the airport in Vegas, and we brought all the change from that change drawer. I think we must have had like $40 or $50 in change.
Wow.
And so we ended up, gambling through the night before our plane flight, just using the change from our change jar. So
that's pretty cool.
You never know. You never know.
Because anything can happen. Corey mentions it was a Swedish cookie can. I guess that your change was in.
Okay. I forgot. I don't know why. I could have sworn it was a coffee can, but
maybe it was a situation where like it was both at some point, or one of those kinds of things.
I think that it really came down to the fact that Grandma had a can and she didn't want to get rid of it. She was that generation where they didn't throw anything away,
right?
Even if it should have been thrown away. But anyway, just kind of a cute memory. Yeah,
that is cool. I didn't really have too many like that where like there was some cool little like here have this. I'm sure I do have certain things, but I had to think back and remember and everything like that. But I don't have like a huge like ritual kind of thing like that. Several stories like that, but nothing revolving like change or anything like that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I think we covered it all. Probably that time. But Stephen, thank you for tonight. It was fun.
Yeah, and I'm sorry everybody that I was like 10 minutes late, and then oh gosh, I will never take naps again.
Or you just need to set that annoying alarm, like Amber said.
Yeah, I need to. It was nice to sleep, but it makes you. I guess it's just getting older. When you can sleep for 6 to 8 hours, and then I don't know, halfway through the day you can sleep for another 3. It's like, I guess I need to rest. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now I'm hungry, and it's like almost like jumping in time, when literally it almost is jumping in time, because you wake up, you go to sleep, it's 3 hours, and then boom, you wake up, it's 3 hours in the future, and then you're hungry and confused, like what day is it? Especially now, it was dark when I woke up.
Oh, you had one of those naps.
Yeah, because it was now that the time changed and we went back to summertime, so now it's like dark at like 7:45 in the evening instead of like 3 in the afternoon. It gets dark a lot later, and so when I fell asleep around 5, I wake up, it's dark. I'm like, is it 4 a.m. on a Tuesday already? Like I don't know what day it is. It's so confusing, and that gets you really disoriented, and I hate that. But it is what it is. It
is.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us.
Thank you guys.
And tune in this Sunday. And then I believe the next week we're going to be on a Friday, and then the week after that we'll be back on track, I think. So it's fun to do these other shows on Friday sometimes.
Yeah, we got to keep people on their toes.
Yeah. So like, comment, and subscribe, and you will not be cursed. But yeah. All right. Thanks everybody. Have a good night.
All right.
See ya.